All right, we just finished up recording a cool episode here with Christopher Castano. We're here sitting in his house here, and there's a beautiful backyard outside I want to go grab some photos of. But Chris gave us a rundown over when you were still in school, right?
Yeah.
You were starting your business. And
do estimates my lunch breaks at school,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Telling us a story of how you started from that and going the whole way up through to doing $500,000 projects here in North Carolina. Just a person that, from my perception, that is just good at setting the people up, giving them the tools they need to succeed, and then getting out of the way. Really, really a thing that a lot of contractors struggle with to get to that point.
Yeah.
So good work on that, Chris.
Thank you.
You betcha. And for everybody listening, enjoy the rest of this episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Cost of Doing Business podcast. I am down here in North Carolina and just completing a road trip tour through the beautiful mountains of North Carolina and even into Tennessee. Here with Christopher Castano in his gorgeous home with an incredible backyard that we'll get some B-roll to show on the video if you're watching this on YouTube or social media. But thanks for having me here, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. I've been enjoying kind of like you have your guys out there working around around the property, and it's you've been doing like I come in here and I see like somebody's doing a ton of work.
Oh yeah. Yep. Always something to do.
Yeah. And I was at Chris's place last night and he's saying that guy's a workhorse. He's always working.
Yeah.
So it's good to meet you in person.
Yep.
I'm not even sure, how long have you been using SynkedUP?
Since it first came out.
Really?
We got
So
onto it
2021?
within the first month or 2 months
Really?
of it coming out.
For everybody listening, like give us a rundown of like what your business looks like, how many people you have, what kind of projects you do, that kind of thing.
So we do mostly higher end luxury outdoor spaces, kind of the $100,000 to $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 projects, larger scale stuff, higher end, more design details, more intricate details, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Not really a lot of production work at all. We try to do 10 to 15 pools a year. A lot of our projects are pools or revolve around existing pools, remodels, pavilions, all that kind of stuff. But we also do construction work as well.
Like actual framing?
Renovations, home additions, remodels, new construction houses. Yep, just because people ask us to do it and we can, so why not?
Incredible.
But we run about 8 to 10 employees full time year round. One guy driving dump truck, one guy project management on the construction side, and then we have 4 or 5 guys on each crew usually.
So you have 2 crews
doing
running?
installs. Yep, 2 crews running.
Okay.
One primarily masonry, brick, block, stone, patio slabs, all that kind of stuff, and then one crew doing more base prep, underground work, grading, landscape cleanup, kind of the front end and the back end. So yeah.
Cool. And how long have you been in business?
I've been in business since really before I could drive. I got started, and I've just slowly grown it over the years. Definitely not a 10x business, but we've done quite a lot in a short period of time. We first started doing pools about 3 years ago.
Okay.
We've done about 40 or 50 pools so far, I would say.
And they're not like, it's not like they're all fiberglass yet?
No, we don't do any fiberglass. Only concrete pools.
I
So
see.
excavation, rebar, concrete, and then plaster surfaces. Yeah.
What year was that when you started your business?
Technically, so we first started as Castano Landscaping and then rebranded to Castano Design Build in 2020, going into 2021.
Okay.
Was when we did our rebranding. But that really helped a lot too. And even now, though, I feel like our brand really doesn't, either that or we don't advertise enough well. All of our stuff's word of mouth, but our brand, says design build, but people are like, oh, well, we didn't know you did this, or we don't know you did that. I'm like, well, check out our website,
Right.
And our website has everything laid out pretty well.
Sure.
We can always get better photos and stuff on there, but all of our services are pretty well listed. But people think, oh, well, we thought you just did patios, or we thought you just did that. So I try to explain to customers when we first meet them, hey, we offer all lines of business, start to finish. We try to be more of a turnkey contractor.
When did the Castano Landscape start?
I started that when I was 15, doing mulch, bush trimming. Customers would ask for exterior lighting for irrigation work. We need a few bushes, we need this, we need that, and I never said no, Definitely lost some money in between, but that's the only way you can learn sometimes,
That's the price of the education.
Yep.
You pay for it somehow.
I haven't messed anything up too bad over the years. Nothing we couldn't have fixed. So we stay behind our work pretty well too. If clients have a small issue or something,
Sure.
I had a client who had an outdoor speaker system we did, and one of the boxes came open, the speaker unit got wet in the rain, so we went and replaced it for him. It's kind of a middle ground of, okay, well, did you leave it open, or did I leave it, or did it open itself? We're just like, we'll take care of it. Reputation's worth more at the end of the day.
Yeah,
So.
and for that to be possible, it's critical that you actually have the cash flow to be able to pull that off. Like,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So if you're running bare bones.
Yeah, you definitely have to make good enough margins to where you have room for repairs and stuff. Stuff comes up regardless of whether it's your fault or not.
Exactly.
So.
In the client experience, like I'd rather charge more up front so that I can do incredible stuff.
Right.
And go over the top on the back end.
I mean, it's not like we're charging enough to buy a yacht, but we're charging enough to where we can do what we need to.
Or
take
if it's
care
a
of
little thing like that, a couple $100 speaker or whatever it was, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
No, I like that. Your 8 guys, where did you find them?
I first started hiring guys full time, really, that were outside of buddies from school in 2020, into that summer. I just finished high school. Technically, I finished the year before because I graduated early, but I was completely out of it and needed more guys, obviously. So we finally started recruiting some local guys and just kind of word of mouth from there, finding more guys. Over the years, I've had guys want to leave subs because they don't like their boss and they want to just work directly for me. So we've hired a few on like that, which I'm not the biggest fan of because you don't want to make anybody mad in the industry. The industry, it seems like it's a big area, but everybody knows each other. So anytime we've hired anybody, we've said, hey, if you want to talk to me about a job position, you can't have a job currently. So, if you want to quit your employer and come work for me, great. But we're not discussing pay or opportunity or anything until you're gone from the other job.
Yeah, that keeps it clean.
So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, somebody can look at it and say, oh, well, they left to go join with you. Well, that's fine,
Yeah.
Everybody has to do what they want to do for their family. That's really what it's about at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They're working to provide for their family.
Are you still out on the crew? Like, where do you spend your time?
Office, running circles all day pretty much. Trying to check on all of our job sites, make sure everything's being managed properly.
But you're not the one actually out there cutting papers in?
No. I can get out there and I can do it for sure. I've run concrete saws plenty enough in my time. I can get out there, and if my guys aren't doing something good enough, I can get out there and show them up on it, just to show them, hey, I can do it. But they know that I have to do the back end work so that they have a job. I don't mind every once in a while if we have a day or two gap and they're like, oh, well, we don't have any work today. I'm like, no, I've been spending too much time dealing with you guys. You need to make sure you're doing your job and maintaining everything on the property that you're working on so that I don't have to be there all the time. If I'm spending a whole day there, then I can't be doing everything else I need to be,
How long has your longest employee been with you?
My longest guy has been with us right now 4 years, one of my foremen.
In terms of delegating that to where you weren't the one on the job site, what did that look like? What did it take
most of our guys really, we've trained from them knowing nothing to them knowing what we want them to know, how to run equipment, everything, yeah. 4 years ago, we didn't do any masonry work. So brick, stone, block, everything like that. I didn't even know how to mix mortar, and now it's like nothing. We go out there and hammer it out. We know how to properly waterproof things. We know how to prep a substrate for tile or coping, whatever we're doing. We know intricate ways to make design details, all that kind of stuff. We use high-end finishes, epoxy grout, premium products that you really have to know what you're doing to use properly. And I've done tons of background research. Facebook groups has helped a lot. If we run into a problem, there's plenty of people to learn from if you're willing to learn. You just have to be willing to spend the time to do it. A lot of my buddies see me on Facebook all the time. I'm really not just scrolling and swiping. I'm in probably 100 different groups on Facebook, and we're looking at different design details we can do to better ourselves. My only competition is myself. We're really just trying to build the next project better. I've run into a few clients that we have currently, and they're like, oh, well, you explained to me this, but you did it differently at so-and-so's house. And I said, yeah, because we're trying to get better. We're constantly changing our process. Everybody lays natural stone around here, travertine, marble on gravel. Well, when it moves and shifts and you see those imperfections, polysand doesn't hold up, you have those issues. Well, we don't deal with that anymore. We pour a concrete slab, we have rebar in it. We use a high strength outdoor grout in all of our joints. We use silicone for our expansion joints, color match it to the grout. We're trying to make it a perfect finish to where we don't want to get callbacks for warranty work. We want to get callbacks for more work.
Callbacks are expensive.
Yeah. Either expensive for us or expensive for the client.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but either way.
Yeah.
What I'm interested in hearing, when somebody has 8 guys and things are happening, the business is growing. When you've successfully achieved delegating is one thing that contractors really struggle with. Is actually pulling it off in a way that their employees are engaged. They're loving what they do. It's not like you're babysitting a bunch of crew members. What do you think it takes to do that?
no matter what you do, there's always some babysitting for sure. I mean, the point where we're at is we either scale to where we have an estimator, we have a sales guy, we have everybody doing their own specific task, and then I can just step back and watch everything happen, or we stay where we're at and I maintain the projects, I meet with the customers, I sell the work. And honestly, we'd rather just be there, because as much as we'd have to scale from a cost perspective for the higher end jobs that we're doing, it's not really effective unless you have a very, very high number of jobs coming in. You know, you have to have hundreds of jobs a year when you're running multiple sales guys, multiple estimators, or multiple crews, you know, and you really can't keep that perfection of work down when you're doing stuff like that.
So you're thinking the model that you're at now is kind of what you want to optimize and keep going?
Right, I think so, yeah. I mean, our teams can really do anything without each other. All of our guys that are doing more of the landscape work, they know how to do brick and stone and pavers and stuff, and they like being on their own to do some of that stuff sometimes. You know, if we have a simple project where it's just laying pavers, my guys on both crews know how to do that. So when a crew that doesn't normally do that, we let them do that. They like that because they get more experience. You know, but there has to be a point too where they get enough experience where they know how to do everybody else's job, but also they're not doing stuff that they can screw up. You know, I mean, you don't want to go one step forward, 2 steps back either, because that definitely will cost some money pretty quick.
When the screw ups happen, how do you approach it?
It has to be fixed, especially when they know they've screwed up. I mean, usually they won't come to me. I mean, sometimes I'm not there enough to where I can't really see everything that gets screwed up and gets fixed, because I know that happens sometimes when I'm not there.
So they're self
Right. Or like a foreman will pick up after his other guys, you know, below him and say, hey, we need to correct this or that, you know, and we're pretty good about coming up with solutions for stuff too. I mean, we definitely run into some tricky situations with elevations. Trying to maintain the finished product from the start is tough sometimes.
A simple little math mistake is somewhere in the elevation setting process.
Yeah, being something on being off by an inch, you know, when you're doing stairs can really mess things up.
Big deal.
Yeah, you know.
I've been there, done that. Been like, how did I screw that math up? What would you say is the biggest challenge you've overcome in your whole experience?
Probably just finding good people. You know, we have great subs, but even great subs do stuff they're not supposed to do, you know? I mean, you come back behind some guys. We just had a guy yesterday using a ladder on top of a countertop, and now the customer says that it's scratched or cracked or something, so.
It was a sub?
Yeah. And I mean, you never know. I mean, and I look at the situation from his perspective, and the area was hard to get to, but if you know that that's a finished surface, like, we need to figure out another solution potentially, you know? I mean, there's a solution to everything. So at the end of the day, really what we're doing is to make other people's lives easier or more enjoyable. You know, we're renovating their house so that they have more room for their kids, or a bonus room, or we're building them a new house, or we're adding a garage. Either that, or we're building high-end luxury outdoor space. You know, or we're doing their front landscape where they can come home and enjoy that, you know, or when they have guests over, they can show it off, that sort of thing. So really, I mean, at the end of the day, if something happens, it kind of is what it is. You just fix it and move on, you know. It's not the end of the world.
How would you say that whole challenge of finding good people, like, what have you tried that hasn't worked, and what have you done that has worked for you, that other people could, like, learn from in terms of, like, finding those good people?
Probably trial and error, honestly. Finding somebody who comes in before the next person and asking them who the good people are is a good thing to do too. You know, so if we need a good framer, okay, well, let's ask our drywall guy or our electrician or our plumber, because he's seeing all the good work and all the bad work. Or if we need a really good painter, okay, well, let's ask the drywall guy, you know, because those two kind of work together. Or, you know, if the drywall guy's come messing up, we can ask the painter, you know. I mean, finding who comes in before the other person. So same thing like with if you're doing landscape installs and you need a good grading person to do a lot of big grading work and you're working for a home builder, well, you can ask the home builder for the grader, you know, or kind of everything kind of works together.
How do you think about do I want to hire another employee for X need, or versus go finding a sub? Like, how do you kind of like process that out in your head?
Sometimes the crew needs to be big enough. I mean, like if you have 2 guys on a masonry crew, that's kind of tough because you really need a labor to mix mortar, bring material, that kind of stuff. And then if only one guy's installing, labor really doesn't have enough work to do. So you have to pick a point of, okay, well, this labor can keep up with this number of stone masons, so we're going to need this number of guys on a crew. You also have to maintain not having too many guys on a crew to where they feel like, You know, if you have 6 guys on a crew and they all work together really great, that's awesome. They can hammer out some work. But at the same time, sometimes they feel like, oh, well, this is a small project. There's 6 of us. We have plenty of time.
Yeah.
You know?
Or you can't utilize them effectively.
Right. Like or there's too many guys in one little area.
Exactly.
Yep.
If it's a big project where you can split up into 2 teams or something like that, where you can be like, hey, we're doing this and you're doing that, that's different.
Yeah, and you definitely have to maintain relations between crews too, because sometimes one crew thinks that another crew's not working hard enough, or guys get kind of particular with their work sometimes.
Well, I mean, you want that thing of where there's pride in what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
But
and that's what we do. Like our guys have pride in what they do.
Yeah.
You know, in the sense of, okay, well, you know, I want this to look like this when it's done, or you know, they'll post on their Facebook stories.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Instagram.
That's a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
they enjoy what they do.
Yeah.
You know?
But you also don't want to have a dog eat dog kind of. It's like, no, like, okay, if you're not doing it right, let me, you know, let's work together.
Yeah, want to learn.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
What would you say is the best advice you've been given?
Honestly, probably to run my business as debt-free as possible, kind of run everything based off of simplifying processes, that sort of thing. If there's too much going on, you try to do too much at one time, sometimes it is too much. You know, a lot of guys try to do 10X, you know, grow quick, that sort of thing. You see a lot of that. I mean, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, you know? I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to make money and wanting to grow a business, but there's also a difference between doing what you enjoy and growing a business. I think there's definitely a middle ground between those. If you're trying to just grow a business and make money, that's great, but if you're trying to grow a business, make money, and provide a high level of service to customers and enjoy what you do and be on site, if you're wanting to be on site, you're also really not wanting to grow the business as much. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I'm wanting to grow a business and scale and everything, I need to be on the computer, or I need to be making phone calls, selling customers on the next job. I can't be on site micromanaging every little process. You know, I can, but I'm going to be working 20 hours a day instead of 12.
I think as an owner-operator, as a contractor, a business owner, you need to think about yourself as the creator of the systems and processes that produces the work, not the best worker.
Yeah.
And not the one that's doing the work, so to speak.
And
sometimes you still do the work, that's fine, but that's not your chief role.
Yeah. I mean, I have guys locally that recommend us that don't even know me personally. You know, I have tons of people that know who I am, just because they see the work that we do and the level of finish that we provide, and know that we stand behind our work really well. You know, I mean, there's plenty of guys out there right now that they'll finish something, and if something's messed up, oh, well, that's so-and-so's problem, or we're not going to cover it. You know?
Take ownership.
Right.
That puts a bad taste in the client's mouth, and that kills the whole, it kills everything downstream. Your reputation.
It is too about finding the right client. You know, I mean, if you have a client
that's true.
Well, you also have to set an expectation. If you tell somebody you're going to do something in a month and it takes you 4, then that's not right. You know, but
you're setting yourself up to lose.
At the same time, we try to find clients who know that they want a high finished level product, and when they're trying to rush us through the job, that's not really what we want either. Sometimes the client's willing to work with you, even if you take a little bit longer, if you're doing a really nice finish. They see crappy work and it's taking forever, they're not going to be happy.
What's been the biggest mistake you made that you're like, wow, that was a lesson, I'm not going to do that again?
Oh, which one? You know? I mean, I had a guy one time, project 5 minutes from here. I asked him, hey, you know, how much is it going to be for you to do this covered porch basically on the back of a house? He said, oh, about 20 grand. And I said, okay, well, you know what? I should have got an estimate from him on it, or maybe met him on site, or spent a little bit more time on the front end, because I quoted the customer, marked it up, 4 or 5 grand, whatever. I mean, we're trying to get the job. We're trying to make a little bit of money. We're not trying, you know, nice customer, job's close to the shop. It's kind of an ideal project for us. Thank goodness it wasn't too far either, because he ended up billing me almost 37 grand. So, I mean, there's 10, 15 grand profit loss out the door, and we weren't making that much on the job in total, you know. So now we're working for less than free. I'm not going to go back to the customer though.
Yeah,
on that,
your word is your word.
Right, that's it. I mean, we quote the job, that's it. You can say, oh, well, this material went up or that went up, but at the end of the day, it's still kind of your fault. Oh, well, this material went up since we quoted it. Okay, well, why didn't you order it?
I think I think what you're talking about there is how you earn trust as a contractor.
Right.
And the thing of like, well, I'll give you a quote, but then there's this change and that change, and like, and I'm making it your problem, but it was my shortcoming. You know, that's what erodes that confidence.
The biggest thing for us, though, where we could make more money, and not really in a wrongful way, but in a way that we should, is change orders. Oh, well, we want to add 50 square feet. Oh, well, it's only 50 square feet. It's only going to take a day. Okay, well, $40 a square foot, 50 square feet, $2 grand. $2,000 here, $2,000 there, it adds up pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's coming from the company, it's coming off of your profit at the end of the day, You're pulling it from yourself. You're only just shortcutting yourself.
Yes.
On that.
Yes. No, and you're right. Like there's nothing wrong with change orders as long as it's not being done in a
and having a proper design for the customer, having a realistic estimate.
Like if the scope of work is changing, then that should be a change order.
Right. Yeah.
But if the scope of work is not changing, then that's on you. Our responsibility.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we just had an instance where, we were going to do a handrail on a project, and they wanted to finish it with brick and block and everything. And there was kind of a middle ground of, well, which one was included? So now, basically, whatever the outcome is, it's on us, and we're not going to really go back and hit the customer for it. But what we try to do designs change throughout the project. I try to also include the square footage of certain areas, like our patio surfaces.
So there's a clear
finished. So even if we make some changes, okay, well, we wanted more patio here, we want to move this there. Well, we still went over, so that's extra. And you really want to hit clients for stuff like that while it's happening rather than
not at the
end of the project.
Communicate.
Right. And when stuff's happening super fast.
But before you tell them, sure, I can do that, be like, well, this is what it would be.
Right.
You still want to do that.
Sometimes when clients hear you say, oh, well, we can do that.
It's
they
like,
just
cool,
think,
they're going to throw it in.
Yeah, we're just going to do it for free. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, people think that contractors make a bunch of money, but I mean, if you think about it, if we're making 15, 20 grand on a pool, it's a lot of money, but it's also not.
Risk.
It's a lot of risk. I mean, if something happens with the
a lot
pool,
of time.
you got to replace the whole pool. That's a lot of money.
Yes.
I mean, we have insurance that covers that for us, but that's still a huge, huge hassle. I mean, you're not going to make profit on the repair.
Yep.
It's a lot of risk for sure.
Yeah. And when those things happen, it also robs you of the ability to be doing something else that is profitable.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you could go back to day one, let's say back when you were starting Castano Landscape before you kind of rebranded, what is one thing that you would do differently?
Charge more. Have SynkedUP, Too many times, to get a job, I've said, we can probably do this in this amount of time, or we can do, I can probably get this material cheaper here or something, and you're just shortcutting yourself.
Yeah.
Or I'm working on the computer at 11 o'clock at night because that's the lowest priority, to send an estimate, because we're trying to get done what we already have, but I'm forgetting things on the estimate.
How were you doing bids when you started?
In my truck. I've had QuickBooks since I first started.
So how were you coming up with the pricing?
Initially, I guess whenever I was in high school for the first year or so, probably mostly just texting customers, hey, this is the price, this is what we're doing.
And how were you coming up with that price?
We kind of calculated like a price per yard for mulch, and it's going to take me about this long to do bush trimming. I want to make this much. That's kind of it. You know what I'm saying? If we can have some guys help.
You were looking at that number and be like, there was no mathematical formula.
Not really, no. Now, granted, living at my parents' house, my expense is my truck and it's already paid for. It's kind of, you're making some money in high school, but it kind of got to a point past that where,
once you actually viewed yourself as a legit business, you had overhead, expenses, all of that, were you still?
I had full liability insurance, workers' comp, and everything since before I was 18.
Okay.
We set everything up, LLC, all that stuff, which for a lot of people that's hard to do. For our insurance, I found a local provider and they kind of vouched for us too. They were a broker, they kind of vouched for us and said, hey, we trust this kid. We hope he's not going to make any big claims for you, basically, because nobody wants to give workers' comp and liability to somebody. Right.
And when you were pricing jobs back then, you were using QuickBooks and all that. How were you coming up with your hourly rate or your price per yard or your?
No hourly rate, price per yard.
So how were you calculating that?
Local people do that for this much.
And so literally looking at what other people do.
Kind of more or less, basically stretching it to where, okay, well, we quoted the customer this much and they said that the price was fine, so let's do that, or so-and-so is probably doing it for $90 a yard, we can do it for $85, that's
and then let me guess, looking at your bank account to be like, how good am I doing or not?
Crap, and with mulch is a tough one too. For us, we really try not to even do mulch now. Because if you think about our overhead and everything, it's tough. If we can get in there and slam it out, we can make some money. But not really. When we can, we try to get a mulch. We have a local mulch pulling company we use when we can. It's a fixed cost and that's it. I can't have skilled labor spreading pine needles all the time. Sometimes.
It's it depends what model you're building. What model are you building your business around?
If it's a small detail, we're doing a small front bed, they're going to do all the plants, pine needles, drip irrigation, topsoil, whatever, everything in one day, that's fine. Kind of makes sense. We're not going to have the pine needle guy come out for 5 bales.
Yeah, right.
But we also try not to get a whole lot of jobs like that to where we're just doing one-day projects.
Yeah.
Most of our projects are 4, 5, 6 days minimum.
What was the progression? Like, so when you were doing that, you were like basically price per yard, all of that. Like, what was the progression? Like, what did you do next? Next.
All of our estimating and pricing has just been like sporadic over the years. We've done like a price per gallon at one point. I mean, most of the stuff I've come up with has just been, okay, well, this is kind of close to like it's not really been like any real estimating until a few years ago. It's kind of just, I think we can do this.
What made you change?
I mean, I was doing projects when I was 18 that were $85,000. And, we kind of figured out roughly how much sod cost or how much irrigation cost and that sort of stuff. But there's definitely tons of projects we could have made a lot more money on.
What made you change? Like, what was the catalyst that?
Kind of just following everybody else,
Really?
Seeing other businesses. Oh, well, so-and-so uses this software, Kale Malman, following different people on social media and stuff over the years. We've kind of come to, okay, well, we can do this or we can do that or this works for them. So-and-so recommends this, and that's not always the right thing, There's definitely trial and error in anything.
Yeah.
Figuring out the right way and the wrong way to do things.
There's also a thing like when you choose a system, like especially when you're looking at what other people are doing on social media and all that. There's also a thing of like just choosing your system and then actually using it.
Right.
Instead of just being, I got the cool one.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And it's important to have systems in place. Like I have my wife doing all of our office work. Mm-hmm. She does all of our mailing all of our checks to subs, vendors, all that stuff, taking care of all of our, getting W-9s from subs, getting copies of insurance, making sure it's in place. Because if you have a sub do some work for you and you don't have a copy of insurance and they screw something up, there's no way to know what insurance company to file back on. You don't have a copy of their policy. That's a big deal. Because if not, then now it's going on your insurance. Thankfully, I mean, we've had some minor things over the years for sure. We've definitely hit our fair share of power lines. No gas lines yet. Yeah, I mean, cable lines, all the Google Fiber and stuff, AT&T Fiber, all that gets really expensive now.
Yeah, no kidding.
So making sure that somebody calls 811 or recall and request, you have to delegate things as much as you can.
Yeah.
Really, especially the smaller tasks are easy to delegate.
Yeah.
Calling 811, scheduling consults, having her do that sort of thing helps me save a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like those processes are key.
Yeah, or I mean, like my dump truck guy, having him order dirt when he needs dirt, or if we need to fill dirt or find somewhere to dump, having him manage all that instead of me trying to meet with the customer and call about finding somewhere to dump dirt. I can't do that,
No.
I mean, I do what I can where I can, but at the end of the day, you have to have other people do things. You can't do it all.
What made you try SynkedUP, and what was the thing that made you say, like, okay, cool, this is the one I'm using?
I forget who I saw use it first, maybe Josh Sutton.
Okay.
Somebody used it and I saw like them post a video about it, or I saw an ad for it or something, and we were just like, all right, let's try this. I used it in the past, and you kind of just have a market percentage and you roll from there. You don't know any. I mean, I never really until a year ago calculated all of our numbers, our phone bill, our insurance and everything, and really found out what our overhead was, I mean, like, you'll take business classes in high school and stuff, but like, they don't really teach you anything. Mm-hmm. They teach you have to pay taxes, and they don't even tell you how to pay them,
Right.
I mean, you don't really learn anything, I mean, probably the most helpful class I've ever had in school was Microsoft Excel and PowerPoint and Word. I'm certified in all those, so being able to put together a PowerPoint and not having to try to figure all that stuff out last minute has helped over the years.
Yeah.
But it's definitely been a lot of changes over the years.
Yeah. What was the thing when you did try SynkedUP that it was like, okay, this is the one I'm going to use?
We started making money right out of the bat. I mean, we knew that we were making. There was more in the business account than there was
before.
Right? Yeah. I mean, compared to other softwares too, it's reasonably priced. I mean, everybody's like, oh well, $5,000 a year, that's a lot. Not really. I mean,
compared
if you're running a multi-million-dollar company, like, just shuck it out a few dollars,
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't figure out how to make $5 extra a year, you got something else going on.
And the way I like to frame that is $5,000 a year is expensive. Well, then compared to what? Compared to?
It's literally a phone bill. Our phone bill every month is probably $300 or $400.
Yeah. And if you compare it to like the money that you're losing by not pricing work correctly,
right,
or
absolutely.
not job costing, then that is usually
and
far.
I fall back on SynkedUP. I love going on my phone. I can pull up the customer's contract. They can e-sign it.
Yeah.
I can go in there and see. Okay, well, we estimated that this material was going to be this amount per square foot, or we estimated this number of man hours for this. You know, looking back at all that's very helpful.
Yeah, that
throughout the
database
project,
of
too.
just like all your
Yeah.
performance,
Yep.
like it's really helpful for when you're building similar jobs in the future.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you think makes that's kind of like the Castano magic? What's original with you? What's the thing that you do that you came up with?
Here recently, we actually just started laying. I don't know if you know what French pattern is.
No.
For travertine, there's like 4 different sizes.
Okay.
You can get like a 8x8, 8x12, 16x24, or a 16x16. Well, the 8-inch dimensional flows with like a 16x24 if you did like a running bond pattern.
Okay.
And so we actually just did a project. I can send you the photo too.
Yeah.
Where we
picture.
blended those 2 different sizes. We try to just do different stuff. You know, I'm not trying to do like all these inlay patterns, and like we've done some of that over the years. You know, we've done some cool stuff with herringbone patterns and all that kind of stuff. But we're trying to do more timeless work, I would say.
Sure.
You know, projects where you come back in 30 years, it still looks just as good as when you did it. And it also fits the time period of when you did it, you know? I mean, a lot of these diamond patterns and some of the stuff that guys are doing, some of these hexagon pavers, I mean, they look great now, but in 10, 15 years, it's like, you're not going to really
We'll be
want
making
that
fun of
anymore.
them like we made fun of the bright orange kitchens in the 1960s or whatever.
Right, yeah, it's going to look like shag carpet, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think we really have one particular thing that we do differently. I would say it's a lot of little things, you know?
Well, like you said, you were saying earlier, constantly leveling up, constantly trying to get better at your process and like studying other people's designs.
I mean, you can only build something to a certain point too, to where it gets too expensive.
Right, or
as well.
And then you need
you're pricing yourself out of the market.
A client to be able to want it,
and there
sees the value in it, and buy
clients.
it.
You know, we have clients that they'll spend $400,000 or $500,000 on an outdoor living project. You know, they are out there, but you have to be performing on that level to get those projects, and you have to be networking. I mean, we do a lot of other things too. We have clients. We do home builders. We'll do foundation clearing work, brick work. You know, do all the brick veneer and foundation, concrete, all that kind of stuff. So, just yesterday I was networking with one. Actually, one of my trim guys partnered with a guy, and they bought some lots down in Waxhaw, and we're going to be doing the foundations and clearing on those. And his partner said, "Oh, well, I have a couple other houses. I have one in Hickory and one in Morganton. I want you to do those too." So, communicating with people, regardless of who they are, the services you offer can help get a lot more work. But we offer a wide range of service.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
my
for
guys
sure.
can install a fence. They can lay brick the next day. They can do artificial turf. They can do plants. Being able to have guys that know how to do a lot of different things helps a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, also teaching people how to do things too. My guys know how to do exterior lighting. It's not very hard. It's very, very simple.
No, it's simple.
But you have to teach them still. You can't just hand them some lights and a roll of wire and say, go for it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
100%.
definitely, they have to have the knowledge to be able to do something.
So where can people connect with you and find you?
Instagram, Facebook. I don't really post a lot of stories or make a lot of posts, honestly. I got good at it at one point. We were trying to post like every week and then kind of fell off. Like it's low on the totem pole of things, I try to post a lot on like my personal Facebook story and Instagram.
You're a hard worker and you got a lot of stuff going on. And I see a pretty relentless, relentless, I think is the word that I feel coming in here and seeing everything you're doing, and your guys are out there in the shop that you're doing. So good work.
Yep.
You're doing a lot of good things.
There's plenty of work out there, you just have to find it.
Well, thanks for allowing me to drop in and doing the podcast, and
absolutely.
Just want to say thank you too for your faith and trust in us to help you run your business. And
anybody I think I've gotten at least one person join SynkedUP.
Awesome.
Anybody I can refer, can't refer too many people because now all my competitors are going to be making money. We can't have that.
Well, at least they're not underbidding you then.
Yeah, we don't really have too many competitors, but I look at some of our numbers compared to where we were, and I'm like, crap, like we really can't charge that much or this amount for this product. We have to charge way more. And I mean, it's easier when you're doing a lot of things. If you're doing one light, we're going to be at $2,000 for one light, but if we're doing 100 lights, it might be only $50 a piece at that point.
True. You got to figure out, make sure it's tied to your costs.
Yeah, and
your
sometimes
recovery.
selling the customer on more, they're actually getting the same price, but they're getting more product too. You know, or close to the same price. So, but you also have to design the projects to where it's going to fit and the numbers are going to make sense. If a client sees a design and you're doing 500 square feet and it's $50 a square foot, they're going to say, oh, well, so-and-so quoted me 20. So you really can't overprice yourself in the market area. I mean, we have a lot of clients too that work with us, and they're only working with us.
Yeah.
We give them a quote and they want to do it or they don't. That's it.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
the best kind.
Yep.
What I like, like when you get the pushback of like, well, somebody else quoted me X and it's more than or you're more than they are, and it's, well, like, why didn't you hire them yet?
Yeah, and we have a lot of clients that'll still hire us over other people.
Right.
Yeah,
Happens all the time.
Even if it takes us longer to do the project, or if there's delays and changes throughout the project, they're fine with all of that. They just know that at the end of the day, they can call me in 2 years and I can come out and tell them.
It's about that trust.
Yeah, I can go out and tell a customer where their sprinkler lines are. I'm on site enough to where I know every little detail of everything.
Sure.
I have clients from when I was in high school I built patios for. They're like, hey, can you build us a pool? They've kind of followed me over the years, and they see what we offer now. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, dude, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for
absolutely.
Thanks for everything.
Thanks for showing me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to go out and see your backyard now. Okay, cheers, man.